Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Alias user interface. So what we've got in front of us is Alias Surface 2024. This is the main window that you'll have once you've installed it. So let's see what we've got here. So we've got here a bar with some tabs. We've got a file handling options and some editing options, delete, layouts. This is basically how you see here the windows, modeling windows, and displaying objects or how they are being displayed. This is a wireframe anti-alias, the shaded anti-alias. Here you can control the thickness of the wires, the jitter that you would have on curves, or how smooth those curves are, the draw style and the precision, transparencies, and here you can toggle and switch off, let's say, the grid, or switch back on the grid if you want to have it and see it. Then in the layers tab, this is how you manipulate layers, one of the ways to do it. So you can either do it in here or do it through object lister. Here you can set up your layers, folders, so on and so forth. We've got the animation tab that I've never used, to be honest. I've never animated anything in Alias, but we'll give it a try sometime in the future. And here on Windows, this is actually one of the first things that you should be looking into, is what you get under here. So one of the important bits of the interface is the palette. This pulls up a whole big menu with a lot of tabs, which can look quite frightening at the very beginning because it's a lot, but I will show you piece by piece what they're for. So let's close these all up. Here under picking, as the name says it, this is a list of picking tools. So you can pick nothing. That's how you end an operation or end the usage of a tool. You can pick objects, components, everything that you see in here, and plus the little elements in each little sub tab. This is really cool because it allows you to work pretty organized, because you'll have to know what you need to pick. So you need to learn what you're building and what they're made of, and this is how you'll know how to pick and manipulate those things. Then the next one will be transforms. This is for various objects, moving them, scaling them, rotating them, transforming CVs, setting pivots. This is where you find the tools for that. Then the next one is generating curves, different type of curves, and generating text, and as I said, all of these things, and adding some new curves based on those. So curve fillet would be fillet that you draw based on curves that already exist. You need two curves to generate the fillet first. Then curve editing, as it says, this is how you manipulate curves. You can duplicate them, rebuild them, add points to them, work how they sit on a plane or not, and section them off based on various curves. This is a lot of stuff there. Then object edits. This is alignment, symmetric modeling, extending curves, editing objects, editing the history of it. That would be the query edit tool. Then the surface tab brings you to some of the tools that you're going to use most of the times in Alias, because you're going to be using Alias to generate surfaces. So this is going to be one of your go-to areas, either using, let's say, already finite sets of surfaces like primitives and then working with them, generating other surfaces based on some of these options, or based on curves that have been done before. You can get revolves, build, skins, or loft, as they used to be called in SolidWorks before, whichever. And rail surfaces, and surfaces between surfaces, meaning fillets, blends, flanges, and then rounding corners off, and so on and so forth. Then Once you're done with looking through that, you will see surface edits. So here you can project, trim, shell things, stitch them together, planarize their hulls, fit them to a scan, and we're very important for visualization, setting the visual and geometric normals. That means when you unify them and they're all facing in or out, when you're rendering, you will have a consistent, nice render. So if they're like an Arlequin model, some normals in, some normals out, you'll have dark areas, so dark patches render and lighter patches, even though it's the same model. That's useful to know. Then one of the trendy areas now and lately in Alias is the subdiv area. Here you can build polygon data, which then Alias also turns into surfaces by the flip of a button. So that's really cool, and this is where you will generate those volumes and manipulate them. Then meshes will be scan data or meshes that you get from Blender, 3ds Max, whichever program you have that sends out mesh data. This is where you'll be able to do some of the tasks with it. So you can repair them, you can patch them up, you can give them thickness. There are quite a few operations that you can do, but you will, depending on how you use Alias, for example, in an automotive world, you will be mainly using those to rebuild them or have them as a reference for the surface data you're trying to generate. Then viewing, this is where you can adjust cameras, set up new cameras, reset views, and all of the other options that you've got in here. Under construction, you will find, let's say, objects that help you construct, meaning points where you can redefine the coordinates, and then you can always return to that point. You can snap to that point, you can measure up to that point. Pretty important when you're trying to work precise. Vectors, so extrusion, that would be good for extrusions, rotation. This is what you would use a vector for, or let's say another use for vectors is for a draft analysis. So basically the direction in which you pull out an object out of its mold. This is actually important when you're building for production, because these will be important for your workflow, and understanding them will help you understand how to build. Construction planes, that's another important topic, especially when you're working and building seats or steering wheels. They're nice to have because you can set everything up to the center of that object, and if it's symmetric, work on a layer where all the symmetry is only for that layer defined on that certain construction plane, and work to that, build half of it, or however big that part should be, and then you can work to symmetry or duplicate them. It's actually a useful tool. Locators is where you can measure stuff. You can annotate, you can evaluate how a curve is flowing with a curvature comb on it. And under the evaluation tab, there you can look at surface continuity, how the highlights are working. You can make sections, you can measure curvature, and so on and so forth. Checking a model is also important. This is where you can actually see if you've got, let's say, unwanted copied surfaces. This is a tool where you can check for duplicate surfaces. You would want to export only one surface in its position. In some cases you will have the same surface from two different parts, but it won't be a copy that you didn't want to have in there. You can check so much more than that, but that's a practical use of that. So that is the plet. And for your workflow, if you want to have it pinned to your window there, so it's not disappearing and it's not covering things up, if you press on Shift and then pull it by this dark gray tab, you pull it to the side of the screen, you will see that it turns blue, and then it pins it to that area there. So when you open it up, or if you adjust the width of it, you see it doesn't cover up your modeling window, which is really cool because it's really good to see the model behind it, or be able to see the whole model. Then another window that's important for me, at least, is the control panel. I like to pin this one as well to the side of the screen here. Let's open this up. Here you can see some of the parametrics of surface, adjust transparency, look at various things here like the quality of the display and so on and so forth. So I like to have that there on the side. And what I also like having is the diagnostic shading as part of it. So if I'm going to do that, just turn it off and then turn it on again. Will pop up here, and what I'll do, I'll turn off the control panel again, turn it back on. You'll see it's freestanding now, so make it a little bit smaller. Hold this with shift to it, and once it turns blue, I'll maybe couple up. And then you should be able to pull them both there. So let's see. Not that it's that important for this topic, but it's nice to have it. I got used to working with like that, so you don't have to do it, but it's how I organize my window. Pull this up here. That's it. So, and there, just put this in here, side. There we go. So this is how my window would look like. We'll bring in here in the user preferences, my profile. You'll see how mine is looking. I like working with a bit darker background. You can set that up in your preferences. And this way I see everything that I want to see. When I click on a curve, it highlights it, so it's a bit easier, and it's also lighter on the eyes. Normally the old interface used to be pretty light, so it would strain your eyes. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please subscribe and share the word if someone's putting out their videos for you guys to learn Alias. I'll catch you in my next video.